Yeah. We also have a lot of videos on our website. We have videos about what to expect at the polls. We have a video on the mail ballot process if you want to go on and see the whole process from requesting a ballot to how we back the ballot. We call it backing when we prepare the signatures. And it shows our whole our mailing system, how it sorts and inserts and everything. Everything very automatic. And then it also shows just all the final steps, how the mailing is put together, and when it comes back, what we do. So it's just from start to finish how we mail out the system. And we also have all of our training videos for our poll workers. So if you're thinking about being a poll worker, you could actually go on there and take a preview by seeing what does a precinct clerk have to do, what does a machine manager have to do, those kind of things. Take a little preview and see if you're interested. And that's, of course, where we also place our election night results. I'll talk just a second about the amendments coming up. We did have 9 constitutional amendments that were going to be on the ballot, plus a non-binding referendum. And 3 of the amendments have been taken off the ballot, Amendment 3, 7, and 9. And we just heard that Amendment 5 and 6 were upheld, so they will be on the ballot. There have been a lawsuit against those two. Those are the two redistricting ones. And those were both upheld, so they will be on the ballot. And then Amendment 8, the class size amendment, that one is still in litigation, and we probably won't hear until next week or later. And so it's going to be on the ballot, but the ruling could make it, the ruling will decide whether or not the votes will be counted. So it has to go on the ballot because it's going to be too late to take it off. But it might not count if it's so. So that's the update on the amendments. And here is the page I was looking for earlier about our turnout. Really brag. Okay. Pinellas County had 24.5% turnout in the primaries, and the other large counties, okay, here we go. Orange County had 21.2, Hillsborough 18.7, Miami-Dade 17.2, Long Beach 16.2, and Broward 14.7. So I think we're pretty deal with it. And we do attribute that to our mail ballots because of 60% being done. Right. Do you have questions about any subjects relating to elections?
What is the general cost of an election, to perform an election here in Pinellas County?
Well, the cost is about $2.2 million.
Is it really necessary to have all 3 of those elections?
The municipal elections, we have to have the 2011, they don't cost that much. Let me start with that. And the cities pay for their elections, so let's start with that.
I don't know why they can't.
Well, St. Petersburg has in their charter, they have their elections in the fall. And all the other cities have in their charter, they have theirs in the spring. They have theirs in March. So, in fact, what's happened though, some of the elections, there is a trend. There is a trend for some of the cities to move their elections. So, I don't know if you've noticed that, but some of them have. And they're trying to save their costs. It doesn't save much in the odd number of years because they still have to pay their costs for a city election. They have some savings if there's other cities on the same day, but they still pay the majority of the cost. But if they have their elections in even number of years in November, they have virtually no cost because the county is paying for the county by election that they already have to have. So if we see a trend to that more, that will help the cities save money. It'll help us save money because we don't have to have the elections in a years. Although most of that is reimbursed by the cities. So it's not really hurting us to have them in the other years. But I do have a chart here that shows the cost of elections from 2000. Probably can see the numbers from there, but I bet you can see that yellow line going up and up and up. Okay. It shows that in 2000, election cost, the countywide general election cost $603,813. That was with the punch cards. And then in 2002, it went up to $986,000. In 2004, in 2002, that would have been the first with the touchscreens. Okay. 2002 would have been the first with the touchscreens. That's $986,000. And then in 2004, it went up to $1.7 million, just because of the increase in all kinds of things. Stayed about the same for 2006, but then we had a huge jump in 2008 to $2.3 million, and that was mainly because of the new voting system and all the paper costs that we have now.
Will that level out after he's already paid for the machine?
Well, it's going to be about that now. It'll stay that way. to cut it because we're trying to cut the ballot costs. So it should go down a little bit. Basically, that just shows the cost. And this doesn't include the cost of voting machines. Any of these costs, this is none of the capital expense. This is the actual expense for an election. Okay?
I'm just kind of curious with these unfunded mandates that come from the state, from the federal government. What can the county do to say, hey, we're not going to do this because we're not going to pay for it. If you want this done with this equipment and all this stuff, then you have to pay for it.
Yeah, it's nice to try to do that. I wish it would work. We tried that with, when they told us to get the optical scan voting system. And so we thought, well, we'll try to make some money on the touchscreens. We'll try to sell them for parts or whatever we can do, save the batteries, anything we do like that. And no, because the way they set it up, it was actually in the bill. It required the change of voting systems. We had to turn over our touchscreens to the state in order to get any funding for the new system. So we kind of got our hands tied in that. So there's nothing we can do.
You get these mandates, but they don't want to fund it.
No, but if we don't follow them, we're in violation of the law, and we can't do that. We have to follow the law. So it's really, burn step up, let me tell you. Okay.
A couple of things related to sort of the same thing. It's kind of a three-part question, so I'll go through this out. Number one, I walked in on voters, I voted early on the first day, early voting. I was told that I did not wear my Morocco pin in there. I was a voter, I was not a poller. That needs to be addressed. Number two, I presented both my driver's license and my voter card, and the poll worker said, you don't need that. I said you need to look at my voter registration. I understand, I grew up in a different state and a different set of rules. Number three, why are you're talking about skyrocketing costs and about all these conveniences that are making everything cheaper, so the apparent cost in this is somewhere in the labor force. It has to be. Are you guys getting raises when the rest of the country is unemployed and et cetera?
No, we haven't had raises for 2 years.
Those
I'll
are
start with that.
raises for 2 years. I have more than
Okay, all right, as far as the button, that was wrong of the poll worker to say that. They should not have said anything about what you're wearing. A voter can wear anything they want to go into the polls and vote. It has nothing to do with campaigning or anything. That's the voter's right. As long as you're walking in to vote, you vote and you walk out. As long as you don't stop and talk about it, hey, look at my button, or anything like that, then you're fine. And they should know that. They do teach that in poll worker training. So,
well, that's part and parcel of the third question. What is involved in that? Because they didn't necessarily seem to be very well trained. And why is everything with the vote by mail? Do they when they fill? I've never voted by mail. I've always voted in person. So I've never seen a mail-in ballot other than when it gets, somebody goes through my mail-in ballot. Are they required to write their voter registration number on that? How do you verify any of this?
Okay, let me go back and answer your other two questions first. Because we talked about your ID in the polls. You have to have a signature and picture ID. That's all you need. If they can verify that your signature on the register when you sign it matches what's on your driver's license, for instance, then they can see that you are who you said you are. You can sign your name like you have your driver's license. So they know that that's who you are. And you have your picture that looks like you also. So that's outlaw, that's all they can require. The voter information card, it used to be called a voter identification card. It's no longer called that. By law, they changed it to voter information card because they took the signature off. So it's no longer a form of ID. It's mainly a form of information. It gives you your precinct number, your district number, and all that. So that's why they said you don't have to show your vote. It doesn't hurt. It's fine to have it, but it just gives another form of ID. In our minds, it gives another form of ID, and it's not a real ID. It shows.
Well, they actually took
that
it and pushed it back. I don't need that. They never even looked at it. Three times I said, no, you need to verify I am who I am.
Well, they're told that your driver's license is sufficient, everything matches, and that's what they need. Because they're told that the voter information card is not an ID. So that's, if someone shows that and doesn't have a picture ID, that won't work. So if you have both, that's good. It doesn't hurt to have both, but you don't need your information.
When these poll workers sign up to do training, you said they do it online.
Oh, no, they don't do it online.
You said they can take the classes online.
No, you can't take the class.
Well,
They can't take the class
when they
online.
talk.
We have the videos online just as a refresher kind of thing.
It's kind of a courtesy.
Exactly, yeah, they have to go.
Thank you.
Now, there is a county around here, I think it's, you might be past it, there's a county close by, I'll say that, 'cause I'm not sure which one, that does online pullover training. We don't do that, we don't agree with that, and we think they need to come in and use the equipment, hands-on. They're required to take a 3-hour, everyone's required to take a 3-hour class. And the clerk, and the assistant clerk, and the machine manager have to take additional classes, 2 other hours, 2 to 3 other hours, depending on their position. And then the clerks have to come back another time, the day before the election, they have to come back and take a 1-hour class. And that's the final reminders of everything, make sure everybody's doing this, this, and this, pick up your equipment, pick up your precinct registers, and those kind of things. Not they don't pick up all their equipment, I won't say that. Things like their phones, if we give them a cell phone, smaller things, they don't take them. The voting machines are whatever
They're all getting cell phones and stuff to use?
We
Isn't
give
this kind of expensive?
Well, here's the other issue. We have to be able to contact polling places. And some of these polling places do not have an extra line that they can dedicate to us. So it was cheaper in the long run to just purchase. But we only need 250 something to cover all the polling places. It was easier to just purchase it one time and we just activate them during the few days that we do it. And it was much more cost efficient than trying to install a landline in some of these polling places that we couldn't reach otherwise. So that was our best bet. We had another one in there that I forgot what your other question was. Okay, she said it was a lot.
And actually, I did the training just a few months ago because I went to volunteer to be a poll worker, and I was an inspector. And just what you said, it has to have a photo and your signature on it. So that's, and I actually felt like I was like the signature inspector because I was trying to make sure that to the best of my knowledge, that matched what was on their license or whatever.
And that's hard to do. I've tried to do that.
Yeah.
It seems like you're an expert.
Are varying degrees of how well I think some people perform that or not. That's my personal. One thing, the mail-in ballot, does that go into the same kind of machine as the ones at the polling places?
No, it doesn't. At the precinct, you have the precinct scanners, they're smaller, they're more like a fax machine. In our office, we call it Election Central and Election Night, we have high-speed scanners, and they process much faster because we just put a stack in and run. But for one thing, they are able to process ballots that have been folded because the precinct scanners are a little more sensitive. They're more likely to jam if a ballot's been folded or wrinkled in this way or humid or anything like that. So the scanners in the office are much more durable and they process much faster.
Well, I asked that because people would bring in their ballot and they would have it filled out, but we can't accept it there. We have to send you down to the main office. And they didn't want to do that, and then they wanted to take it in with them so that they could see what they picked because they don't know well about who they have voted for, which is a scary thought. But the mail-in ballot, you expect to turn it in a polling place. And then we would have to cancel it and turn it in to give them another ballot from the polling place. And so that's why I was asking that question, is because if they could, it looked to me like it was about the same size and shape of the thing I got in the mail.
It is. It's been folded and much like, but either way, it's also stamped out to the top, so it messes up the record. And also, just by law, it's supposed to be accepted.
Well, yeah, but you can always change laws. We've all seen it happen.
Exactly. But we do have something new for the general election, the drop-off sites that we have.
Yeah.
For the primary, they were good through Monday before election. For the general, we're going to have them good through election day.
Oh, good.
All of the sites have graciously agreed to stay up until 7. So if you have all those sites, so now the whole world will be able to refer them to the drop-off site. So we can accept it here, but there's some drop-off sites just down the road. If they'll take it over there, they can just drop it off.
And I have another question is, you said